Welcome back to America Decides. As you might expect, we are still following the latest developments from the apparent assassination attempt against former President Trump, and we will bring you those as soon as we get them. There are also other things to talk about 50 days out from Election Day. Among them, Vice President Harris met with the leaders of the Teamsters Union. You may remember the organization's president spoke at the Republican National Convention. Donald Trump is unveiling a new cryptocurrency business. His campaign has pursued support from the crypto industry this presidential cycle. So let's bring in our political panel, Peggy Collins and Shelby Talcott. Peggy is the Washington bureau chief for Bloomberg News. Shelby is a politics reporter for Semafor. Peggy, it's always good to be in the presence of bureau chief royalty, so let me start with you. Another weekend that roils the headlines, that presents yet another psychic shock to the country. We are glad that it was less shocking than the attempted assassination attempt in July in Butler, Pennsylvania, but nevertheless, it resurfaces all this anxiety about political rhetoric and where it heads or where it might head.
That's right. And I think it also has in many ways changed the narrative. A lot of last week we were talking about who won the debate. Harris was getting a lot of momentum off of that event. And then yesterday with the events, we were talking more about, again, as you were saying, Major, political violence, the threats of political violence, and where the campaigns go from here and where their base of support is going to rally on the very important turnout question. Who turns out, and does this actually engage more people to do just that?
Shelby, does it feel like a circuit breaker, or does it feel like something that has become certainly not expected, but in the way our news cycles sort of churn in this relentless way, part of an unstable political environment that the country is kind of absorbing and coming to grips with?
Yeah, I think both things are true, right? It is this crazy news cycle and this crazy political environment in which we have now had not one attempted assassination, but two potential attempted assassination attempts against a presidential candidate in one campaign cycle. I do think when I talk to Donald Trump's supporters and people who are potentially supporting them, these kinds of things, just like in the primary when he got arrested, his base was really rallied then. These things do rally the base, and I do think more so in the assassination attempt avenue, it can bring over some of those voters who are uncertain about whether they want to vote for him. Now, again, we have 2 months left of this, though. As you said, these news cycles are happening extremely quickly. So what else happens in the next 2 months to potentially change that dynamic? Who knows? I'd
like to ask both of you, start with you, Shelby. Why would we be interested in a new cryptocurrency business from Trump?
Well, I think one of the things that's important is what he could potentially do as president. And Donald Trump has brought up a number of pro-crypto policy proposals this campaign cycle, which is important because in past campaign cycles, he's been kind of anti-crypto. And so for that reason, it is notable that he is starting to talk about launching this cryptocurrency business. And I think the other thing to remember is there's a lot of questions. We don't know a lot of information about this new business model. And so one of the questions I've heard asked a lot is how could this potentially benefit Donald Trump personally? And how would those potential personal benefits influence his policy plans?
And Peggy, you talk to anyone in the Trump inner circle, they need more campaign contributions. They are well behind the Harris-Walz campaign. Is there any connection there?
I think certainly
with this emphasis on crypto?
I think certainly the Trump campaign has seen that there's a lot of enthusiasm for him and his campaign when it comes to the crypto industry, crypto investors, retail investors who are dabbling in crypto. So I think there's something there. And to your point, Major, we had reporting out today that shows that Harris has accrued a sizable cash advantage, that her upcoming fundraiser in New York is attracting people who are willing to pay not thousands, but tens of thousands of dollars to go. And in these final 50 days, the cash hoard may come down to who's able to turn out more voters and do more ads to get them out than the other.
And Shelby, this question about the Teamsters, anyone who reads any history of the political orientation of the Teamsters know that it has vacillated at times. Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan. Now there's a potential non-endorsement, and obviously Sean O'Brien was at the Republican National Convention. How does this sort out from your vantage point?
You know, I think it's...
In terms of importance.
I think it could be important, but I also think, you know, Sean O'Brien has noted that the Teamsters is made up of different factions. There are Republicans, there are independents, and so in terms of—
And mainline Democrat pro-union guys.
Exactly, and so in terms of how the endorsement could influence them, I think the majority of them probably already personally decided who they're going to vote for. It would probably mostly influence those independent voters within that group, and those are the voters that both campaigns are trying to get right now because it is a toss-up race.
Peggy, would it be noteworthy in this campaign if the Teamsters were the only one, not in the Big Ten unions, not to be with Harris?
I think so. As Shelby's saying, those independent voters, many of whom are workers in blue-collar states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, are the ones that are really key right now when it comes down to the final days. So I think that's one of the things that could stand out if they don't endorse either and leave, some of those independent voters up for grabs.
And what would you say, Shelby, is the orientation of the race? Net favorable to Harris at the moment?
I think it's a coin toss. I mean, you look at all of these polls, you look at the Nate Silver model, you look at the 538 model, they're all sort of saying different things, but it's so close. And when I talk to both campaigns, that's exactly how they're viewing this. They're viewing it favorably for themselves, but they're also acknowledging that it is a toss-up race and that this is a race of margins and that every single vote is going to count.
Peggy Collins, Shelby Talcott, thank you very much.